of Optometry Unleashed, an independent optometry-focused podcast brought to you by Eye Care Edge and hosted by Dr. Trevor Miranda. And if you haven't, you are in for a real treat because we're going to be filming right now here live today with 3 industry leaders. Okay, so first of all, please welcome to stage the host, Dr. Trevor Miranda. First of all, he's coming up here. Yeah. Thanks, Doctor. I'm assuming you have is this your designated seat?
I'm going to stand.
You're going to stand? Okay, good.
Well, no, I can sit, whatever you want.
If you sit, my butt's right in your face. Just hold on. Okay.
I'll stand.
Just stay here. Sit. Good call. Good call. Now we have Director of Professional Solutions from EssilorLuxottica. Bruce Miles is here. Bruce. Hi, Bruce. President of HOYA Vision Canada, Steve Haifawi's here. Come on up. And President of Zeiss Vision Canada, Bryan Rossi's here. Let's give him a hand. Let's go.
All right, Brian, let's go, buddy.
All right, I'm turning things over to you, Doc. Take it away. All right.
Amazing. Thank you, Sandy, and thank you, everybody, for joining us on Optometry Unleashed. We're live in the heart of the Okanagan. We're thrilled to be here. It's been an amazing weekend, hasn't it been? Let's give it up. We've got eye care experts from all over Canada converging in one place, and together we've been exploring on how we can think globally, act locally, and live sustainably. You know, I find, sustainability is no laughing matter. A lot of people make jokes that sustainability is about just eating tofu. It's much more than that, and frankly, I find that tasteless. Okay, I'll recycle that joke. In this live recording, we're going to hear from an amazing panel of experts on the latest innovations, strategies, and actions that we can take in the eye care industry to create a better future together. So thank you for joining us. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. I've got a great lineup of questions, and each of you will have a chance to answer. So get ready. But before we get started, we're going to test your knowledge with a fun trivia question. Okay, so you got your whiteboards there, because we don't use paper, we use whiteboards. Whoever wins will get to go first. So once I ask you the question, write your answer on the chalkboard, and we'll show the audience. We'll see if the audience can guess the winner. So here's the question. What's the percentage of plastic currently recycled in Canada? What's the percentage of plastic? If you're playing at home, you can write it down or think about that number in your head. What's the percentage of plastic that's currently recycled in Canada? Okay, let's start with Stephen. You're going to show your answers here. He says 60%. Brian, what do you say, 65%? Bruce says 40%. Okay, so who thinks Stephen's right at 60%? Okay, who thinks Brian's right at 65%? Okay, wow, Bruce. Wow. You're a default winner. Yeah. Who thinks, you've been told that before. Sorry, but you win. Bruce, who thinks Bruce is correct with 40%? Yes, okay, guess what? The real true number is 9%. Wow. 9%. Wow. You know what that tells me is that we have a lot of work to do to live more sustainably. We're gonna find out how we're doing in the eye care industry, and specifically in the laboratory units, our industry suppliers, and what they're doing. So we're going to have a series. I'm going to sit down, guys. I'm going to sit down. Oh, that's better. It's bright up here, hey? Thank you. I've got a photochromic lens. That doesn't work up here. I won't say what type either, but... Okay, here's the questions. We're going to have, considering the challenges that companies face, can you share one essential strategy that's driven your sustainability efforts? We're going to start with our winner, Bruce.
I go for that? Okay, great, yeah, perfect. And congratulations for having this. I want to thank you for having this session, and to have this topic is amazing. So this was really, I think, well planned and well done. You're right. I mean, there's so many different challenges running a business, and the way that it all has to come together is sustainability has to be part of your mission. It has to be part of your strategy. And if I look, I've been working at EssilorLuxottica for 17 years, and they're really good at this. So they create programs for us internationally that we get to implement locally, and we get support from them. So we have this, I can't go on too long about this, but we have a program called Eyes on the Planet. And I'll mention a few of them. So we have Eyes on Carbon. So what Eyes on Carbon is how do we get to carbon neutrality by 2025? So they give us programs including, I'll call it smart infrastructure, where we look at what we're doing inside our plants and putting LED lighting and changing some of the machinery around. We look at the sources that we're using for electricity. In Canada, it's a little bit easier because, especially in Quebec, we have hydro renewable, which is really good. But they also do something internationally, like planting trees and kind of protecting areas. So that's kind of what they do there. Then we have circularity, and that's how much we recycle. So I was surprised to hear the 9%, because globally, we have 63% of our waste is either reused, recycled, or composted. And then the one that's really important that they work with us on is kind of eyes on world sight. And I think that's where we can add the most value. So they look at kind of the underprivileged, and how do we support the underprivileged, leaving no one behind. Everyone should have an opportunity to see. So I'll come back to that one a bit later, I think, when we're talking about other things. But that's kind of what we do.
Thanks, Bruce. Great. Brian?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's give it up for Bruce. What a great answer. He's doing better than 9%. Bruce is doing better than 9%.
Again, thanks for having us here. We appreciate it. This is a great topic. For Zeiss, this is part of our DNA. If you've looked at our social responsibility and sustainability things that we've done, Carl Zeiss, Ernst Abbey, you may know that as well. Since 1846, this has been a foundation of what we do. Our goal is to be carbon neutral by 2025. Fun fact, our Toronto facility has been carbon neutral since 2019. We're very proud of that.
Yeah, let's hear it for that. Way to go.
And that's part of our strategy is Made in Canada, which allows us, first of all, to control our supply chain. So one-way delivery, and when you have to fly other lenses in, things, you can create a lot of CO2 and carbon footprint, so we're very, very responsible on that. Secondly, we went through a build-out in 2017, and we have a state-of-the-art water system that's SWRF, which we've reduced over 60% of our water over the last 4 years. And then finally, we do have to use energy, but all the energy we use in the lab is green energy. So by a combination of these things, we're able to deliver not only great service and quality, but a very sustainable supply chain for Canada, for Canadians.
Yes, Carl Zeiss, let's hear it for them. Way to go. And Stephen from HOYA.
So since the question was regarding one essential strategy, I'll tell you at a very practical level what we've done. We treat it as a strategic priority like we discuss revenue or profitability. And since we do that, it's driven a lot of initiatives. It's created like a domino effect. And so we have an initiative called One Vision. And if you think about sustainability, for us, that means leaving the world in a better place. So it touches more than just green or tofu, right? It touches a lot of things for us, from being involved in our local communities, working at a global scale, at a local level. We give every employee a paid volunteer day so they can interact with their local community. It's something they're passionate about. But I would say one essential strategy would be to treat it like a strategic priority. And then from there, it develops a lot of initiatives. You start to measure things properly so you can manage them, and it drives a lot of change.
We're just going to take a brief break and hear from our sponsor.
I want to take a moment to say thank you to HOYA Vision Canada, our sponsor for this episode. HOYA empowers eye care professionals to achieve their business goals through comprehensive training and regular business reviews. Super High Vision Mirio EX4 is the latest innovative anti-reflection coating that has set new industry standards for clarity and durability. Also, their award-winning myopia management lens, MyoSmart, has sold over 4 million lenses worldwide. To learn more, contact your local HOYA territory manager today and elevate your practice.
Amazing, I love it. Thank you so much. Let's give it an ovation for HOYA. That's excellent. So, we're in independent practices here at iRecommend, and all of us believe in sustainability. How can we interact with your labs to be better at partnering with you on sustainability? Because we want to, but what can we practically do better? Bruce?
You good? Oh, yeah, sure. So lots of things we can do. I think the most impactful, so I'll come back to that, eyes on world sight. And, we think that's really important. Nobody left behind, and making sure everybody's living up to their full potential, fully participating in society, creating a sustainable economy. So that's kind of how we look at all of this. We work with programs like I See, I Learn, and that's where we need everybody's participation. So that's being run in Alberta, Ontario, and Newfoundland. And we're looking at extending that beyond, but this is where we would love to have everybody's participation. We also, so that's for kindergarten children, to get them off to the greatest start possible in school.
And they get free eyewear and
Exactly.
eye exams
Yes, exactly.
at I Recommend offices that participate in ICI Learn, and you're supporting
Exactly,
that.
exactly.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
we've even added Stellest in Alberta just to test that as well.
And that's myopia management to help
Yes.
slow down
Exactly.
myopia. Not all optometrists are watching our podcast, so I might just interpret some of these things, but sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
Go
thank
on.
you. No,
Yeah.
that's good. And then we have another program called Dignity. So even people more elderly, they deserve to live with dignity as well. So we have a program where we supply eyewear to seniors' homes and things like that. So if anyone would love to participate with us on that, that would be fantastic. And then we can just create programs however we want. We would love to create a program with I Recommend, and we could do things like that and call it whatever we want to call it, and it would be one site partnering with I Recommend. So always open for a challenge, and we love doing things like that.
I love it that you're taking care of the youth, and also as we age. I'm like 1 year away from the Denny's 55 plus menu, so I'm pretty excited about that.
You
pretty
and me
excited.
both. You and me both.
Yeah. Brian, what do you think? How can practices partner to support sustainability?
Yeah, I think the key word there is we're here for sustainability and local sustainability. And, we talked about our supply chain in Canada, but, let's talk about the product. So this is a lens. Most of you hopefully have seen. It's a hockey puck, right? For us Canadians, it's pretty thick. And to make the lens that I'm wearing today, we grind off a lot of plastic. And a lot of it's thrown away, and we have to recycle it. And it's not great overall for our sustainability measures. So Zeiss in 2020 developed a thin puck. So this is 65% lighter than the puck I just showed you, and thinner. And we use this for a majority of our prescriptions in the lab, both globally and locally. Globally, we've saved over 290 tons of plastic in the last 3 years, and locally over 9 tons of plastic. That doesn't have to be recycled. So I would say if you're really looking at your sustainability efforts, you look at your supply chain, but let's also look at the products that we're buying out there. So this is a real win-win for all of our practices. We support both. So I would say from sustainability, let's use less plastic.
Yeah, great. Thank you. And Stephen?
So I would say we're very fortunate and happy that a lot of the I Recommend members support HOYA. So in your support, know that you're working with an ethical company that is committed to leaving the world in a better place. And just like my colleagues, we have similar initiatives. However, to work closely with us, I would say contact your territory manager or customer service. We work on initiatives locally across the country, from sponsoring parks to working with local food banks to planting trees or working with Orbis. I know that we have CVC here, we work with them as well. The Lions Club, there's so, I can't name them all, to be honest. There's so many initiatives that the team's involved in. But get in touch with HOYA, and we'd love to incorporate your practices into some of our initiatives. There's a couple of events going on soon with Orbis. It's a fun event where we're pulling a plane across a tarmac to raise awareness about preventable blindness. There's an event coming up in Calgary and Vancouver, and we'd love to have you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much. Bonus surprise question that I just thought of is, when we're edging, lenses, the same thing, Brian. Sometimes we've got that extra plastic. Do you guys, anybody at large want to answer what should local practices do with their potential microplastics that might not be going in a proper place?
Happy to take that one. I'm happy to share. We have a company that we work with based in North America that uses them for building material, so it doesn't go to waste. So they use it for a hard material that's used in construction, and we're happy to share some of the companies that we work with that help. We also work with a company that diverts waste from landfill. It's a great organization that takes waste, and they make sure whatever they can reuse, they do. Whatever they can compost, they will. Recycle. But if they can't do any of that, they use it to actually fuel homes in Canada. So we're happy to share that. I'm happy to share those initiatives with my colleagues as well.
So, we can, at our own practice level, we can really make efforts. And I think, when after this podcast, we're going to go back to my practice and make sure that we're doing everything that we can to be more sustainable, particularly on that plastic that we're producing there.
And also you could send the lenses back to either of our companies and we'll take care of that as well, right? So don't feel that you as an independent have to go out and source it yourself. Send it back to us and we can help with that.
Okay, well, thank you so much. That's great. Okay, what's one way you see sustainability transforming the future of eye care? Mr. Miles, this is for you, Bruce.
Yes, good. Well, I think we can reflect a little bit about what we've heard today. And I sat in on another session of ECPs, which I found fascinating as well. So, I think we're all kind of heading in the right direction. There's still a long way to go. We're looking at biomaterials as well. How do we integrate that into frames? How do we integrate that into lenses? We're already doing some of that. The thinner lenses, we're doing that as well. So there's still a long way to go on that. We're also looking at how do we become more efficient in our plants and continue in that journey. I think we also have to look at what are the next steps, right? And how do we work with our customers? And I saw the presentation where I was shocked to see how many trees are being used. Anna, I think, was presenting and talking about, I think there's the equivalent of, 1.5 trees per week that are being consumed in the average practice. And 1,000 pounds of garbage that's being disposed of. So I just found that staggering. So I think there's a lot of best practices that come out of those things. So I think at the practice level, that can all be kind of worked on. But I think that the next step, so once we get through all of that, the next step of the journey, I think, is really looking at innovation and technology. So how do we, maybe improve patient flow through, right? Using things like AI, using things like practice management systems to reduce administration, get the staff more engaged on patient things, and how can we get more patients through the system? I mean, even somebody with a multi-practice location is teleoptometry. Is that a potential solution? And I think we can look at, can we reduce the carbon footprint per patient through things like that? So I think there's a lot of that coming. We're working on a lot of those things at EssilorLuxottica, so hopefully we'll be bringing some of that next time to this, this type of event. Yeah.
Thanks, Bruce. That's a great note that we can manage some of our patients without having to come into the office, right? And maybe even with our staff can manage some patients and do some work from home, like a call center, a virtual remote call center. So those are really great thoughts. Brian, do you have something to add to that?
Yeah, I think that, first of all, it's great that we have all the sustainability initiatives and that both companies here, all three of us representing, and it's a very comfortable question for all of us. I would have said 10 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, this would have been a little more difficult question. But, what's it going to look like in the future? And, for us, being a science company, we take 10% of our profits every year and invest back in R&D. And so, if you're not doing some of the efforts that we talked about today, the basics, you're probably going to be a little bit left behind. I think we're all going to be carbon neutral, but it's the science that will drive what happens in the future. As Bruce mentioned, biodegradable materials, will there be green types of lenses? How can we eliminate plastic? And Zeiss is looking at that in all efforts, not just in our vision side, but also in our medical side as well. And it's kind of one of the benefits you get is, working with a medical company, we're always, can we leave the world better than it is today? That's really one of our missions. And when you work with us, you can be confident that part of the revenue that we take in, that we're using it, and you're helping make the world a better place as well. So we think it's a real win-win.
Great. And Stephen?
So I think in terms of transformative, I think we're transforming the practices of the past. But if you were to set up a business today or a business in the future, you would probably look at doing the right thing from the get-go. Right? So if you had a choice between something that's not recyclable and recyclable, you'd go the recyclable option. So I think of it in terms of, is it the way of the future? I think it should be standard practice, and I think it will be. I think those that aren't doing the right thing are going to be left behind. But however, some of the practices of the past need to be transformed for sure. But going forward, I see it as a standard way of doing business.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Okay, we're getting closer to the end. We're going to sort of wrap things up to some degree. Maybe we'll have a little bit of time to chat a little bit, but we're going to go with 3 words. That's tough to just hold it to 3 words for me anyway. But 3 words to describe what commitment to sustainability means to you. And we want the audience to kind of participate in this. So it's going to be, you're going to stand up and no, I think you're going to say it. So I'm going to ask you to think of 3 words. I'll give you 3 seconds. So in 3 words, describe what commitment to sustainability means to you. Bruce Miles. You can stand up, though.
Yes.
Yes, you can stand up,
okay.
please.
So I would say be the change. So I've watched, the presentations here. I've watched the presentations there. I think we all have to do this together. We're all in this journey. Super important. So be the change.
Mahatma Gandhi. Love it. Be the change. Amazing. Okay. And Bryan, we're going to have a vote. We're going to have
Okay.
an audience vote at the end. But you go ahead, Bryan. 3 words.
Future life existence. It's a must. We have to do it.
That sounded like 6 words.
All right.
Future life existence. I love it. We're not going to make it if we don't do that. Yes?
I'll keep it simple.
Okay.
For our children.
For our children. Oh, that's very sweet. Oh, wow. Wow. Is it possible to have an audience vote? Those were all so good, weren't they? They were amazing. Okay, I just think, as moderator, I'm going to just say they all win, right? Let's give it up for them. Yeah. Well done. Well done, you know. You know, I'm super proud to hear from our industry partners that they're doing so much. You know, I almost feel a little bit guilty that I'm not as committed to it potentially. Like, I live on Vancouver Island, and, you know, it's a rule. You know, you have to wake up, hug a tree, and, you know, that's part of what you do every morning. And we're very environmentally based. You know, God forbid you eat something that's not, you know, organic and locally sourced, right? So pay double. But, you know, it's the way of the way of the present. It's the way we have to do to preserve the future. We have to take those initiatives at our practice. So, you know, I think, you know, my challenge to all of the listeners to Optometry Unleashed is go back wherever you work, if you work in an optometric setting, and think about ways you can be more sustainable and healthier for the planet and a better life for our children. You know, be the change and have, you know, live for the future. I messed that one up, Bryan. What was your 3 words?
Future life existence.
Future life, and actually just live, right, in the future. Be alive. Yeah, so that's amazing. So I want to thank you all for coming out today and sharing your insights and leadership with us. The move to sustainability can be daunting, but I believe we're going in the right direction together. And we're grateful to have leaders like you 3 and your companies paving the way. So thanks for being here. And let's give them a round of applause here. And, you know, for those of you that are listening, be sure to follow our podcast on Spotify. Yes, but before we go there, we've got some presents for you. So,
Swag bag. Nice.
yes, these are hemp bags, I'm sure. Sustainable bags. You can reuse them in grocery shops. So thank you guys. Appreciate you guys coming, paving the way for us. Open up your presents, and you can show them to our viewing audience.
T-shirts, all right.
They have T-shirts. These are the much coveted Optometry Unleashed.
We were asking for these.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then on the back, it's like, yeah.
You're going to give us a double bicep
Yeah.
pose now?
You can't. So if you're just listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, we have these Optometry Unleashed T-shirts, and on the back it says "Unleash Your Potential."
Okay.
You can't buy this merch. You have to be a
Collector's
guest.
item. Okay.
So you guys, those are special shirts, and thank you for all the listeners and for joining us here live in the Okanagan. If you love to leave us a review on Optometry Unleashed or listen to Optometry Unleashed, you have recommendations for future guests, we'd love to hear from you. And for all of you, until next time, this is Trevor Miranda. We'll see you soon.
Thank you for joining us on Optometry Unleashed. If you like the show or find the content we provide valuable, please hit the follow button on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It's a great way to support our work at zero cost to you. You can also leave us a review of up to 5 stars on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you have any questions for me, comments about the podcast, or guests you would like us to consider, please leave us a comment on Spotify or Apple Podcasts with your feedback. Our team reviews all the comments we receive on the show to guide us in providing better content for our listeners. And thank you again to HOYA Vision Canada for being a proud sponsor of our podcast.